The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said, I tell you most solemnly, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold through the gate, but gets in some other way, is a thief and a brigand. The one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the flock. The gatekeeper lets him in. The sheep hears his voice. One by one he calls his own sheep and leads them out. When he has brought out his flock, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow because they know his voice. They never follow a stranger, but run away from him. They do not recognize the voice of strangers. Jesus told them this parable, but they failed to understand what he meant by telling it to them. So Jesus spoke to them again. I tell you most solemnly, I am the gate of the sheepfold. All others who have come are thieves and brigands, but the sheep took no notice of them. I am the gate. Anyone who enters through me will be safe. He will go freely in and out and be sure of finding pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come so that they may have life and have it to the full. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Today is Good Shepherd Sunday, the fourth Sunday of Easter. And being a Good Shepherd Sunday, here in Australia, we pray for vocation because we need vocation, especially to the priesthood and religious life. And as we reflect on the shepherd, who is Christ himself, it's also important to reflect on ourselves, the sheep. So the reading today has presented to us how God relates to us. He is our true shepherd. We are the sheep. Listening to the first reading, I said to myself, wow. Peter preached, and in one single homily, he made 3,000 converts. I wonder how many converts I can make in one homily. Maybe half? I don't know. But this is the power of the Good Shepherd. We have one Good Shepherd, and that is Christ himself. He said, I am the Good Shepherd. He didn't say, I am a Good Shepherd. He's not one of them. He's the only one. The rest of us, the Pope, the Bishop, the priest, and all other pastors, we are following the example of the Good Shepherd. And that is why it is very important on a day like this to pray for the Pope, pray for the Bishop, pray for your priests, and for the pastors of the church, because we are the ones that Jesus has entrusted the care of his flock to them. These are the ones that are guided, have been assigned the duty to guide us to greener pastures. What are the lessons of our readings today? The lessons begin with knowing that we are not just sheep without a shepherd. We have a shepherd who cares. Someone may say, how can we say God cares when the whole world is walking through the shadow and the darkness of death? He is a God who cares. He cares for us. He cares for every single person. He doesn't treat us according to our sins. He comes to search for each one of us. It was the search for you and I that took him up to the cross. And that search will continue. Even when he came down from the cross, he came to search for one missing sheep, Thomas. After showing himself to the apostles, Thomas wasn't there. He had to come back to make sure Thomas is in the right place. So we have a God who cares. So if you have any problem worrying you, or any difficulties or any challenges that you are going through at this time, I want to assure you there is someone who cares for you, and that is Jesus. Apart from caring for you, we have a God who provides. Our psalm, which is one of my favorite psalms today, Psalm 23, says, "The Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want." Nothing. He guides me along the right path. He is faithful to his name. Even if I walk through the valley or the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because he is always there with his crook and his staff to give me comfort. If I have no food, he feeds me. Even in the presence of my enemy, he fills my cup to overflowing point, and he anoints my head with oil. Because goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and the best place to be is the house of the Lord, where I will dwell forever and ever. That is God's promise for you. That is how much he cares for you. He cares for you even when you don't ask for it. He provides your needs. I know a lot of people today are worried about their job, about their future, about their family, about their friends and their loved ones because of the pandemic. Do not worry about tomorrow, because God will take care of tomorrow for you. He will provide your needs. He knows what you need. He won't give you everything you want, but I can assure you he will give you more than what you need. Now, if this is how much God cares for us, what about us? How do we relate to God? We relate to him like the sheep. And as a good sheep, every good sheep listens to the voice of the shepherd. A good sheep listens to the voice of the shepherd. So, to be a good sheep, we must be very good listeners. There are so many voices today. I've been privileged to travel to Jerusalem. And even in Palestine till this day, they have sheepfold where the shepherd bring in their flock. And they put all of them together in the same fold. And then the gatekeeper lets them in and out. And then in the morning, when they take them out for pasture, each shepherd comes in to the flock, to the fold, and then one by one he calls his sheep. And they follow him. Another shepherd comes, and one by one he calls his sheep, and they also follow him. The sheep will never follow a stranger. That is how it is. And this is what God is making us to understand. This is what Jesus wants us to understand, that we all are children of God, and all of us are in the same sheepfold. But the sheepfold that God has given to us today is the church. Are you within that sheepfold? Are you within the sheepfold? He has prepared a sheepfold for us where we can be safe. Are you within the safe zone? And when he comes to call out his sheep, they follow him because they recognize his voice. He knows them. So there is a close relationship there. How is your relationship with God today? How close is your relationship with God? Do you really listen to the voice of God? There are so many voices in our world today. Voice of materialism, voice of pride, voice of career, voice of many things speaking to us. So much so that we are so confused and we don't know which one is the true voice. Whose voice do you listen to? It is very easy to tell the voice you listen to. The voice that controls your life is the voice of the shepherd. Is what you listen to? I'll give you an example. to know how close you are with God. If you are within the sheepfold, how to develop pure relationship with God and to listen to the voice of God is to always be in prayer. How often do you pray? Thank God this pandemic has helped a lot of families now to pray together. And for those who are Catholics, the month of May and the month of October is a very special month for us because it's a month of the Rosary. And thank God Pope Francis have said to every family to try and pray the Rosary together during this month and ask for the intercession of Mary, our mother, because she has what it takes to get us through this pandemic. How often do you pray? You may be a member of the church, you may be within the church, which is the fold, the sheepfold, but do you pray? This is the example I want to give you. I'm sure many of you have the mobile phones. If you have a mobile phone and you switch off your mobile phone, your cell phone, you cannot receive or make calls with it. You can't even receive a text message with it, so long as it remains switched off. If your cell phone is switched on and you are not within the network range, no one will be able to reach you. You can't reach out to any other person as well. This is what happened when it comes to our relationship with God. When you are within the sheepfold, like being in the church, and your life is not a prayerful life, your spiritual life is switched off. And even if you are within the network zone, which is the church, the sheepfold, you cannot hear the voice of God. There's no communication happening between you and God because you don't pray. You are one of those who just go to Mass just to fulfill your Sunday obligation. You go to Mass and then you follow the Mass. Sometimes during Mass, you are there browsing through your phone, getting others distracted and distracting yourself just for the Mass to be over for you to go home. You are within the sheepfold, you are within the safe zone, but there is no communication happening between you and the Master because your spiritual life is switched off. And for those who are not going to church, I'm not saying you are bad people. Some of you are a lot better than us. And I've always said that, look, we need you to come to church to make us better people because we need people like you. But when you are outside the fold, you are outside the network range. You may be going out to a danger zone. And this is what happened. And that is why Jesus warned us that the enemies will come. And when the enemies come, they have a mission. Their mission is to kill, to steal, and to destroy. And how does the enemy succeed in doing that? The enemy cannot kill, steal, or destroy when the shepherd is awake. The enemy cannot attack when the shepherd is watching, unless if he's a bad shepherd. But we have a good shepherd who never go to sleep, even when we are asleep. And the enemy comes. What the enemy does is to lure you away from the flock. It entices you with something good to isolate you, to corner you. Once you are isolated from the flock, then the enemy can strike. Many people today have been isolated. And what are the causes of isolation? One, it could be self-judgment. You see yourself and you condemn yourself and you think you don't deserve to go to church anymore because you think you are the worst sinner on earth. You isolate yourself. Sometimes we say, oh, nobody wants me, nobody cares about me, nobody knows what I'm going through, nobody understands me anymore, and then you isolate yourself. Sometimes pride and arrogance make us to isolate ourselves. And sometimes we take unnecessary risks, we just walk away. And then we isolate ourselves. Once you are isolated from the group, then you become vulnerable to attack. You go out of the sight of the shepherd, you go out of his range, you can no longer hear the voice of the shepherd can no longer hear your voice even when you cry out. You are in isolation. And there are so many Christians today who have gone into this kind of spiritual isolation. You may be one of those listening to me now. Are you in any spiritual isolation? You need to reconnect yourself. Make a U-turn and find your way back to the fold before it is too late. Because what you are hearing from me now may be your last call. Just like sometimes we go to the airport and then you are sitting there and sleeping and the boarding gate is open and the plane started loading and people started boarding and then they keep calling your name and you are somewhere in a corner sleeping because you are tired. This is the last call for you if you are listening to me. It could be your last call before the gates are closed. The shepherd said something. He said, I am the gate. Oh my goodness. What a very important point. He is the gate. What gate? A gate that leads where? It's a gate that leads to your success. It's a gate that leads to your breakthrough. It's a gate that leads to the satisfaction of what you are searching for in all the wrong places. It's a gate that will open you up to a new life. It's a gate that will open, that will give you access to greener pasture. It's a gate that will lead you to a safe zone. You cannot go through life. You cannot have all you need in life. You cannot have all the success you need. In fact, God himself doesn't even expect us to be successful anyway. He only wants us to be faithful. That is what the saints said. He wants us to expect us to be faithful. But he is the gate you are looking for. He is the one that has the key to the success you are chasing. He is the one to lead you to fulfill your dream to where you want to be, the right place you want to be. Dear friends, dear brothers and sisters, I want to tell you that your life is a lot more precious than you think. You are much more important than you think. You are much more precious and special to God than you think. If you are not that special, God will not die for you. How could God die for you when you are not special? You are worth dying for. So don't allow others to make you feel you are worthless or you are good for nothing or because you have made one mistake or the other, you are no longer qualified for this or that. No, you are a lot more important than you think. So don't condemn yourself in order to isolate yourself. That is the enemy's plan to destroy you. And don't judge others and say, oh, I don't deserve to be with these people, I'm better than them. That is enemy's plan to isolate you as well, either through self-condemnation or through self-righteousness. Pride, arrogance, search for material things, these are tactics of the evil one to isolate you so that he can destroy, he can steal you, or he can take you away from him. So, my dear friends, the good news is we have a shepherd who cares for us, even when we don't care for ourselves. We have a shepherd who never and will never give up on us, even when we give up on ourselves. We have a shepherd that is ready to die for us again and again. We have a shepherd who is so patient with us. He is so patient with us because we are not where he wants us to be yet. That is why God has not given up on you, because he wants to melt you, to mold you, to shape you to the image of his Son, and then he will fill you with his grace. So while this process is going on, just be patient with yourself and be patient with God. You may not be the best of sheep. He has accepted you the way you are. And who are you not to accept what God has accepted? You may not be the best of persons, but God has accepted you and have sent his Son to die in your place. And I have said to you before, it was a search for your soul, for my soul, that led him up to the cross. And that search still continues. So today, I would like to invite all of us to pray for our shepherds, whom God have entrusted us to their care, the Pope, the Bishop, the priests, and all the pastors of the church. Because another plan of the enemy is to gain access to the sheepfold is to strike the shepherd. Once the shepherd is confused, once the shepherd is misled, once the shepherd is stricken, then the sheep will be scattered. And when the sheep is scattered, then the enemies can feast on them. We have a shepherd that feeds the lamb, the sheep. He does not feed on the sheep, but the enemy comes to feed on the sheep. And we cannot let the enemy have the access. And the people whom God have entrusted us to them are human beings like us. We need to pray for them. Pray for your priests. Pray for your bishops. Pray for the Pope. Pray for vocations to the priesthood. We need good, holy, and prayerful priests. The church have been through so many things. If you are a young person listening to me now, I'm sure you may have been disappointed by the past histories of the church, especially in the last 40 years. We need people like you to come and change the face of the church. We need people who can come up to pray, to lead people to a greener pasture. We need good pastors. Parents, encourage your children to embrace the vocation to the priesthood. I always believe the church may run out of people, but it will never run out of priests. Because God is always faithful. He will always provide for his people. We may be unfaithful, but God will always be faithful to us. So, my dear brothers and sisters, God has also given us that responsibility as parents to be shepherds of our families. As leaders in the society, to be shepherds of our citizens. At every level in life, wherever God has placed you, there may be one or two persons that God has put under your care. So you are to act as a good shepherd towards them. Let us protect them. Let us guide them. Let us love them. Let us do exactly what God is doing to us by leading them gently to the greener pasture. And finally, God has assured us today that even though if we walk through the valley or the shadow of the pandemic, no evil will ever hurt us, because he is always there with his crook and his staff. And that should be our source of comfort. May God bless you.